Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. My name is FPL Phillips and this is going to be another one of my team reveals after an absolute shocker of the game week 5 really. I had a massive stinker, quite a few 100k rank drop down to around 700k when I was near the top 100k, which I suppose just proves how packed up we are in terms of a bunch at the moment so early on in the season, but also how bad of a game week I've just had. I'm currently sweating in my new uni room, so we are still going to be bringing you the content, but apologies if there's any messes up with any of the audio or anything on this video. Doesn't seem quite as crisp as before. I'll make sure to try and have it all tweaked and working, and me looking all my best for you guys in next week's video, and tomorrow, in fact, for Eddie versus the algorithm, if you guys will be tuning into that one. Without any further ado, let's get into having a look at how my team is shaping up ahead of game week 6 with 2 free transfers to use. And so, yeah, as mentioned, my rank is not looking quite as pretty as it did before last game week. 775k we're now sat at, but 2 free transfers. Not going to be using a wildcard or rushing into anything like that, but there are some significant changes that need to happen with my side as I see it. At the moment, though, it does seem that whoever is the popular transfer this week ends up not being so essential the week following. So there aren't too many transfers I'm 100% confident of being a great move, but we'll get into my potential transfer plans in just a mo. One area where I would like to make a switch, but I may well not have that luxury, even with the 2 free transfers, are going to be in goal, where I'm probably going to stick with Sam Johnston for one more week. And this is where I want to mention that you should definitely be holding off your transfers, in my view, for this game week until near the deadline. Just simply due to the fact that we have so many midweek games, and we also have some press conferences where players like Johnston could be of note if there are comments made. So if Hodgson ends up giving hints in one press conference, whether that be this game week or a game week down the line, that maybe Dean Henderson's going to come into the side. That will probably be where I need to jump ship on Johnston and think about making a keeper switch, especially with Turner down on my bench as well, who could end up being a minute's risk of his own. And I would ideally like one playing goalkeeper, at least in my FPL team, out of the 2. So yeah, Johnson's probably going to sit tight for now, unless we get some news closer to the deadline with regards to that, I suppose. A nice home fixture against Fulham for him, hoping maybe I can finally get a clean sheet from a goalkeeper in this game week, which seems to have been rare to come by for people with goalkeepers this season. In my defence is where some more clean sheets have been hard to come by, especially last game week. Rico Henry, the major casualty, being substituted off in that game against Newcastle. And he's the main one that's going to be a problem in my team at the moment, really, with what looks like it could be an ACL injury for the young Englishman, which is going to be devastating for him and his career if it is as serious as some reports are suggesting early on. But he's going to be the one that has to leave my side, unfortunately, it seems. I would have liked to keep him for this home game against Everton, but that's why he's in my starting 11 right now. It's just because whoever I bring in is most likely going to be starting in place of him in my 11. Estupinian was rested, but I'm happy to hold on to him for one more week due to the fact that I think he'll come back into that Brighton side. But we have Ben Chilwell, who is again going to be one who's looking a little bit worse for wear in terms of minutes. So not only is he getting subbed early, but he's also now not starting games in favour of someone like a Mudryk, which Chelsea fans were pushing for, and it seems Pochettino has maybe listened or just agreed with their thoughts processes. And yeah, Chilwell now seems to be not as good as he looked at the start of the season. He's also got a game against Aston Villa, which is definitely not an easy fixture on paper. So again, another one I'm looking to shift out, and maybe 2 defensive transfers might well be what's required with my 2 moves this game week. In the midfield is where we've got a midfield 5 that's not looking too bad at all. I'm still happy with Mbeumo, Saka, Maddison, Rashford. Still quite happy to hold on for Foden as well. At the time of recording, I've seen he started in the game for City tonight, I believe. So unless he's got injured or something, I'm not looking to move Phil Foden on too soon. I still do like Heung-min Son for the upcoming games, but overall there's not really anyone in midfield I'm pushing for massively, or looks like they're performing so consistently that they'd be able to outscore my players for certain that I've got at the moment. So I'm still relatively happy with the midfield. One area where I'm not so happy is that second striker that I've got alongside Erling Haaland. Despite registering some pretty impressive underlying data in terms of XG numbers, Jackson just seems to have suffered maybe the Chelsea striker curse, where he cannot find the back of the net and he's not delivering in terms of an FPL asset. So a switch to Alvarez could be on the cards. He's been getting great minutes in the Premier League so far this season, and even if he had fewer minutes, I still think I'd prefer him as an option to Jackson. So that move will probably be one that happens in the near future. I am kind of waiting to see how maybe Champions League minutes could affect Alvarez's game time in the Premier League. And the same can be said for a few of the other sides as well, as that European competition schedule begins to build up. And some defenders that I'm looking to go for then we'll get into in just a moment after we reveal the bench. So I've got a Dogi who I could start this week. So despite mentioning the fact that I have some defensive issues in my side, I could still start him in that game against Arsenal. I've also got Kabore, who's at home to Wolves, which is not too bad a fixture for Luton, so potential to maybe start there. But right now, I think the pressing issue is just when you look at the starting 11, it's not the midfield, it's maybe Jackson, and it's Chilwell, and it's Henry in my starting team right now. And so I'm looking at some defenders where I think there's quite a decent amount of upside at the moment as well. And first and foremost, looking towards those Newcastle assets and the defenders that we have on offer from them at the moment. In terms of cost, Botman is going to be the cheapest option, with Trippier the most expensive, but he's offering the most in terms of attempted assists and expected assists, you can see at the moment here too. So despite that and the assist threat, Botman has still looked really good, and he's actually matched Trippier, so he's joint first for expected assists, and Fabian Schär hasn't been as good for attacking data as we've seen in previous years, but even then it has been through XG where he's been performing the strongest. So Botman has looked the best in terms of expected FPL points as well, and that's taken from the OptaStats tool over on the Fantasy Football Fix website if you'd like to check that out for yourself. But overall, Newcastle have been performing very well as a defence. 1.17 XGC per 90 is not too bad at all. We'll compare it with a defender from another team in just a moment. But over the Game Week 6 to Game Week 9 period, which is a major selling point with some pretty nice fixtures coming up, as you can see, against the likes of Sheffield United and Burnley, Trippier is the one who's predicted the most points, but they all look pretty nice. And to be honest, right now, I'm leaning towards going for Botman. I think that the 2 million price gap between him and Trippier is a rather significant price gulp. But the one that I'm weighing Botman up against is going to be a defender from another side who does have rather trickier fixtures, but is still one that I would like to go for. And that's going to be Alexander Zinchenko. So his data is looking pretty promising as well. Arsenal have actually got better defensive underlying data than Newcastle so far this season. So 0.83 expected goals conceded there, as you can see, 2 rows up from the bottom. His predicted points don't look too promising over the next few game weeks, however, just due to the fact mainly that they don't have the nicest fixtures. Tottenham, Man City and Chelsea all in the next 4 for Arsenal. So despite my love for Zinchenko and my faith in him as an asset and my belief that he will come good, I think right now Botman is still just my preferred one, but he's definitely on the watch list. Could maybe even bring him in at next game week, something like that. But for now, I think Botman's definitely going to be one of my transfers in this week if nothing else changes. But I'm pretty certain either way it'll be a Newcastle defender who ends up coming into my side as at least one of the changes. We'll now have a look at the predicted points totals as well. Maybe this top 10 can actually help me with some inspiration as to who to transfer in this week. Haaland at the top, Mohamed Salah coming in second, who is looking like more and more of that consistent asset that we've seen in all these previous years of FPL, and people are now moving on to say Salah's the most essential asset in the midfield at the moment, and 12.5 million is quite a large sum of money to find for our sides. I think with my team at the moment, it just doesn't make too much sense, but for example, making a move like going for Botman instead of Trippier could definitely help with that down the line. Pascal Gross coming in third is definitely something that does surprise me a little bit. He's ahead of teammates March and Mitoma in terms of the rankings here, with Mbumo sandwiched in between 2 of the Brighton players at 5.1. We've then got 2 of my midfielders, so Saka and Foden tied at 5.0 apiece as well with Mitoma. Bruno Fernandes at 4.8 and Odegaard at 4.8. So a lot of midfielders in this list, really, no defenders of too much note making it into here. Not a single defender in the top 10 list, in fact, which seems to be the case with most of the projected points, unless there's a very high chance of a clean sheet in a certain game week. So yeah, basically, I'm going rather boring this week. There's nothing too much exciting going on with my side, which is probably rubbish viewing for all you guys. But make sure to leave a thumbs up on the video if you somewhat enjoyed it anyway. With regards to my second transfer and what I'm going to do this week, if I do decide to do something, I will of course let you guys know and try to keep you updated on socials, etc. But if you want to use any of the tools that I'll be using to make my decision with regards to stats and data, then they're all Fantasy Football Fix, and they're all linked down below in the description if you'd like to check it out for yourself. So in summary, Henry to Botman looks pretty set in stone. Then whether I do Jackson to Alvarez perhaps, or whether I do Chilwell to another defensive pick, such as maybe even a second Newcastle defender, or maybe someone like a Zinchenko, who we touched on as well. That could be where I go elsewhere with it, but I still think there's value in rolling that second free transfer. Again, having that one more game week with 2 free transfers to have a look at whether maybe things change with Johnston and other players that could provide potential problems with my side, where there seems to be just growing issues every single week right now. But yeah, that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe if you are new around here. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Goodbye.